Hi, friends. I'm Deneen. I'm the host of this show, The Space in Between. I'm a mom, I'm an attorney, I'm an author, and I'm also a widow. We're going to get into some really important stuff today, and I'm really grateful that you're here and you're going to be sitting with us on The Space in Between. All right, so welcome, friends. Today we are in Broad Ripple at the Engine Room. Shout out Anthony, shout out Ryan. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm excited about my guest today. Gretchen Schott is a leadership expert and executive coach with more than 30 years of experience helping leaders build confidence, trust, and impact. She's the founder of Leading Well, the chief learning officer at Threefold, and host of the Made for Impact podcast. And I think you're adding another podcast, which we might get to. Gretchen is also a mom to 3 kids. She is passionate about creating joy at work, leading with love, and helping others grow. Outside of her work, Gretchen serves at her church in the marriage enrichment ministry, as well as volunteers in local theaters and productions, fueling her passion for the performing arts. Welcome, Gretchen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
So your journey, it blends professional success with deeply personal experiences. And when I think of that, I wonder what has shaped the way, how those personal experiences have shaped the way, the road that led you into this passion for leadership. I know there's some later experiences that you wrote about, but is there anything that you think about that led you into that road where you really wanted to work with leaders for leaders?
Yeah, I think, as a young woman, I have a very big personality. I have a lot of enthusiasm, and I was always kind of put into those roles where it was like I just started leading, and I was always kind of put in charge, and I liked that. And then I went to school and I studied communications, and with communications, there's this whole study on leadership and learning about how to communicate with people well and how to lead them well, just kind of like ignited a fire inside of me. And it was like thinking back to my younger, I was like, oh, this is why I was put in a leadership role. This is why I was given that opportunity. And I love leadership. I love people that lead well.
You were born to do.
I do. I just love it.
That's really interesting. You think most people start maybe at a level where they're concerned about themselves as more of not a follower, but a member of a group.
Yeah.
And then they might have developed that later. So that's an interesting way that you describe that. Thank you. In the chapter that you wrote, Enjoy at Work, obviously it starts with a pretty significant story. You share about the devastating loss of your father to suicide.
Yeah.
How did that experience and the way you were, quote, I'm using air quotes, loved well. And I don't mean to attack it. I'm saying you were loved well. Afterwards, how did that change your perspective on leadership and joy?
Yeah.
So any part of that you want to address, I want to give you the floor.
Thank you. Yes. I was thank you for calling out that story too, because I was nervous to even write about that. When I was asked to be a part of the book, I wasn't going to be writing about that. I had a whole nother thought around leadership engagement. And then when my dad passed, it was just devastating. It's the greatest sorrow and loss of my whole life. My dad was that dad that was always so encouraging. He would have been the one who would have been the first person to call me when we wrote the book and be like, oh my gosh, you published, right? When he passed, and so violently, he shot himself in front of his wife, which was just
I'm so sorry.
So sad. And so not the man that I grew up with. He just became really mentally unwell. And to spend time in space and try and really understand like why and for what purpose was this. I had always said I didn't want to remember him by his death, but by the life that he led before that. And it was really important for me to think about the good things and not just about how he chose to take his life. And when I thought about the good things, it was always about the leadership roles that he had, the jobs that he had, the encouragement he had for us. And for me specifically, he was always telling me, as a woman, you have so much to offer and you're so smart and you have to lean into this, into that. And he really was the one that was like dropping stories of leadership into my life. And so having an opportunity to really process my grief by being able to write about it was just a beautiful gift. But during that time, it was right after the holiday. It happened on January 2nd. And so I had so many people reach out to us. I had people sending me, can we bring you dinner? Bringing us flowers, bringing us prayers and praying for us. And I think there was probably like 8 people that actually paid down like a service just said for my dad. And so all those ways in which we just didn't realize that we just needed that kind of support. That's what I mean by we were loved so well. I think the best things were like texts from friends that were like, I'm thinking of you. Just, you're strong enough. This is terrible. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad, right? And just to kind of, and not the, what can I do? And, what do you need? Like I don't know what I didn't know what I needed, right? But what I needed is I just needed to be loved. And I was loved very well by friends and family and my coworkers, and really just holding space like this, like having someone sit here with me right now. And I continue to be loved well in that way. When people who knew my dad tell me a story or they see something that reminded me of my dad, like that's just gold. I will always be grateful for people that can tell me stories about my dad.
I understand that. Having lost my brother and my husband, neither by violent methods, so maybe a little difference there.
Yeah.
But love it when someone still to this day, my brother's been dead 13 years, when someone reaches out and they're like, hey, I thought of this the other day. Me and John one time were riding bikes.
Yes.
And I just love it. It's something so, I don't want to say calming, soothing to the soul.
It brings like peace into us that somebody remembers them, and especially those things like we weren't a part of, right? Like they see a side of your brother that you're like, oh, that's right, he was like that.
Yeah, and it's nice to be reminded of it.
Yeah.
And one thing I found really interesting about your dad and my brother was Dale Carnegie.
Oh, yeah.
So my mom used to use the Dale Carnegie tape. She was a real estate agent, but my brother really adapted it in his own way and just decided, sort of, I think before manifesting became a word, that I'm going to have this.
Yes.
I'm going to have this.
Yes.
And he would get those things. And he would amaze all of us, his friends and family, because John decided John's going to get it. So your dad sort of inspiring you with the Dale Carnegie tapes, I think is like, I don't know your dad, I didn't know him, but I can kind of picture his spirit. And I think that's probably something that also led you into this leadership.
Oh, for sure.
Sort of loving leadership and loving inspiring leaders. So I just wanted to add that.
I love that. That's fun.
Just something I picked up from the chapter. So in your chapter, Joy at Work, you write that joy isn't something to be found. It is something to be created. How do you create joy for yourself when life feels heavy? Maybe outside of work.
Yeah.
Or in work.
Yeah. I think in both. I think that there's so many people that feel like they're sad and they're mad and they're upset because they don't have joy, but they aren't doing anything to actually cultivate that within themselves, right? We can't expect others to feel joyful if we aren't ourselves joyful. And I think it starts with knowing yourself and loving yourself. That's how we cultivate the joy. If we don't know ourselves, we can't know other people. If we don't love ourselves, we can't really love other people. And in that gap of not loving ourselves and not knowing ourselves, we're not going to suddenly find joy there either. So my like first things are do some self-care, right? Like get comfortable with who you are. Maybe that's going for a walk. Maybe that's taking a bath with some bubbles, maybe it's a silent retreat, whatever that might be. But
so that leads me into my next question, which I think you're already answering also. So because the show is called The Space in Between, I imagine you found yourself at times with a life situation, or you mentioned at one point when they were trying to transition you out of your job.
Yeah.
Or anything else. I don't want to define it for you, but maybe even your volunteer work where you were trying to lean on something to get through this space in between. So you were happy at your job, and then they were bought. The company was bought.
Yep.
I imagine that was an in-between space, because at one point you have a title, you're connected to that title with the work, and they're like, hey, we don't need you to do that anymore.
We don't want that.
So, but you're still at that job, even though it's being phased out. It's kind of like, I imagine, I've never been divorced, but a husband or wife coming home and saying, I don't want to be married. So you're still married, but you know you're not about to be, and it's going to be a really bad, unwanted change for the person that receives that news. Most likely they weren't thinking. Same thing with the job. So when you think about it, you were sort of starting to go there, I think. You're like, when you're trying to muster up the joy, you're in that space in between. Do you think bubble baths and things? Because sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. Is there anything else that you've ever turned to that was different or novel to get you through when you're trying to maintain positivity? And I don't know how easy it is to maintain joy when they're about to take the job that you love.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to start from a practice of gratitude. We have to be grateful. We have to be humble enough to recognize when our pride and our ego is getting in the way. And sometimes the reason our joy is sapped is because of pride and our own egos. I think especially a lot more so maybe at work. That was mine. Now you've taken it away. What do you mean you're changing my title? What do you mean you're taking my team? What are all those types of things? And I don't know if it's necessarily unique or special, but I think focusing on what are we grateful for, right? If I'm grateful that I have a job, I'm grateful that I have a job that I love so much that I can actually be upset that it's being taken away from me, right? Because I know now I know what that looks like. So now I have a place to start from, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm grateful that I've worked for a company that is so profitable and wonderful that another company loves it so much they want it to be part of theirs, and how lucky that I get to be a part of this. I don't love the decisions that are being made right now, but I can be grateful for the fact that I've had a small part of this journey, and now I get to rediscover something else in myself. Or being grateful for the people that you work with. Like sometimes we sometimes have to dig a little bit into that gratitude to figure out what it is that we want to be grateful for, what we want to recognize as being grateful for. But I think in not recognizing it, then we are actually leading to a life very unsatisfied and full of pride.
I agree, and I think that could apply to a wealth of situations that a person might find themselves in. I went through a pretty painful trauma about 2.5 years ago, and I had to dig. You use the word dig. There were days I had to dig. And I remember one day just starting with a cardinal outside. It was winter, so there was a cardinal, and then switching to my dog that I love every day, the same way I love my kids, but I didn't sort of list it. Like, I love this dog. My kids are both at school, but this dog is here with me. And I'm lucky. I have the ability to take care of a dog, and I have a dog that loves me. And I have a cardinal outside. When I lived in New York City, I never saw a cardinal. I had to go out to Long Island or upstate, but in my house here in Indy, I have a cardinal outside, and it comes every day. So it was this digging that I sort of related to in what you were just saying now. So I just wanted to say, I think that could apply. Thank you for that.
I think we also diminish how important some of those small things are. Like someone listening to this might be like, oh yeah, right. Like if I go take a bubble bath, that's going to make me feel better. Or right, I'm going to go look outside and that's going to make me feel better. But we need to not judge that. If that is all you have to be happy and grateful for in that moment, that's enough. Because without hope and without any kind of focus on, I want to have joy, I want to be hopeful, then the world's already lost. In my opinion.
And I would say this to my sister repeatedly about my dad, because he went through a loneliness bout as a senior about 2 years ago. And I kept saying to her, without hope, he has nothing. He had this intense hope to get back with my mom. That's still not there, but they have a solid friendship. They've been divorced for decades, but there's always been this love, I think, and this desire to get back with her. And I just kept saying to my sister, why kill it? Like, this is what gives him hope. And his wife had died. And so anyway, I'm with you. You said words right out of my brain, which were, without hope, the world is lost. And one of my favorite poems is Langston Hughes. And, if dreams die, life is a frozen, barren field of snow. There's nothing So anyway, okay. So we're on the same page
love
with
it.
that. Yeah. Thank you. So you've had and you make a powerful distinction between leadership on influence or as influence and management as authority. This struck me. You mentioned that when you read an article from Joseph Rost detailing this view, it, quote, blew your mind.
It did.
And it startled me to read it because I was like, what does she mean? I took a minute. But can you share what really stands out to you at that time and now concerning this way of thinking?
Yeah.
When you think about that, because it did blow your mind and mine a little bit.
I love that and anyone who hasn't read Joseph Rost's work, you need to read it because it was like, what? And I think for me, it stemmed from I firmly believe that everyone is a leader. Everyone is a leader. You can lead in your home. You can lead in your community. You can lead at work. But what does that really look like? And so when I think about in years before now, when I would talk about training and workshops and leadership, and it was really about management and about the different roles a manager has, which is related to the authority that they have. They have a team they are responsible for and the tactical and maybe strategic things they're trying to do there. You can be a manager and not be a leader. You can be a manager because you have a figurehead, a title. But leadership is about that influence that you have, and you don't have to have the title to have influence and to have people follow you and to have people motivated and inspired by you. I think people who are managers aspire to be leaders, but you don't have to be a manager to be a leader. And I think that there's been many, 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 many years of research that's talked about management and leadership. And we keep them locked up as the same, and they're not. And I think it's, especially in our culture today, where there's so many people that don't want to necessarily be responsible for other people. They are entrepreneurial and they want to be these solopreneurs. And so are they not a leader because they don't have a team and so they're not managing people? For me, it was like, I need to focus more, not on how good of a manager I am and all the authority that I would carry, but what is my influence like? Like, how am I influencing people? What is the influence I have? What's my span of control? What am I taking ownership of? That, to me, is the heart of what we're talking about when we talk about influence and leadership.
Influence. When you talk about influence.
Yeah.
I think also of people just out in the world where for some apparent reason we want to hear what they think of something. That's influence.
Yeah.
They may not be the lead. They may be an actor. They may be a ball player. They may be someone who works in animal rescue.
Yeah.
But we want to hear what they think about something because there's something about their personal style that we find inspiring.
Right.
And I think that's what you're talking about a little bit, the influence someone has to influence their team or the people around them.
Well, and I donate a lot of my time. I work at church. And when I talk with like stay-at-home moms who would never believe that they are a leader, like, I'm not a leader. Yes, you are a leader. You are leading your home. I have one girlfriend, I'm like, you are the CEO of your family.
Absolutely.
Right? You're the chief everything officer there.
Yeah.
And that is leadership. That is leading. And so I think we get too hung up on the whole management piece, and we are really leading.
I think before my husband got really sick and died, I had a babysitter that helped me, and my girlfriend also did. So one day we were meeting at Central Park. Our kids were with our babysitters.
Yep.
When my kids saw me, they were much younger. They literally ran, "Mommy's here, mommy's here," screaming. Her son kind of sauntered over. And I remember later on that night, she called me and she had way more materialistic resources than I did. An apartment on Central Park West, which was why we were meeting up there. And she was like, "It's so mind-blowing. I can't even handle that your kids see you and they act like a rock star just showed up."
Yeah.
And I was like so thrilled, not to upset her.
Right.
But I was like, I hope I always, and I don't now, they're older, but I'm like, I hope my kids always look at me like that.
I'm sure they do.
Not in the same, they were literally running to me. And I remember as my husband was getting sicker, telling certain people that were involved with my kids, whether it was coaches, teachers, admissions for the next school, I was like, if they haven't told me about it, it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So even if something happens today at school, it isn't real for them until they tell me. And I no longer carry that influence. It's just, I think, part of
them
I guess
growing
them getting
up.
older. I
Yeah.
know I no longer have that influence. I do think bigger things, they still want to run it by me or have me
discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's when I think of influence in that way as moms. And I'm so glad that you reminded some of those women that, hey, you have this. So
you do, for
I like
sure.
that. So you've been in workplaces that filled you with joy and others that drained you. I know you have some exercises that could help someone move forward, and we'll get into those in just a moment. So I know you and I've read them and I'm excited about them. But what signs should someone look for before they get to those exercises to know they have to do them, that it might be time to move on? And could this be, and I already think I know the answer, could this be applied to other areas of someone's life? So we're not talking yet about the fantastic exercises that you've listed. We're talking about
like the triggers,
the
the
self-assessment maybe, or a trigger or whatever you call, because maybe your exercises are self-assessment, but where does one get to that place where they're like, I need to look around. What are I have a few signs that I know of for either work, friendship, or love. But what do you think are some telltale signs we could give to listeners right now who might be like, okay, I don't know, like maybe I thought I was kind of happy at work, but
but maybe I'm not.
Yeah, or something where they're just maybe zoning out and they're not really seeing that they're not okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any
I think there's a couple of things I would say to pay attention to, and I can speak to, I write about it in the book, an experience I had when the company that I was working for got bought. I realized I was not my best self anymore. Like when people around me were getting accolades and getting recognized, and I started to feel resentful and ugly about it, and that I couldn't be excited and encouraging, that for me was it's like, whoa, like that's not me. I am a person that is always encouraging. Positivity is actually one of my top 5 strengths. So when I'm not feeling like I can be in a space with you and appreciate and be excited for you, that's one place. It's like, okay, so if you're feeling that way at work, like things are happening to other people and you're in this place of lack or absence of like, well, when's it going to happen for me? That right there is like, that causes you to pause and say, why do I feel that way? Right. I think it's the same thing in relationships. If you're in a relationship with somebody, you have a friend with somebody, and every time you're with them, you feel less energy than you did when you first sat down with them, that's a good sign that maybe you're not getting out of that relationship anymore what you need, or maybe that relationship has changed and you've grown and that person maybe hasn't grown with you. And so you don't necessarily have to continue to give them the same level of engagement, the same level of energy, because it's not serving you anymore. That doesn't mean just cut them off and like, you're out of my life, but it might not be serving you in the same way. Your job might not be serving you in the same way. The company might not be serving you in the same way. Those are all okay things, but just be honest about it.
I definitely think you hit something there for me again, which is interesting because I didn't have this written down. But you just said something before about when you're no longer able to be joyful for someone and have resentment. When my husband first got sick, it didn't hit me. But about 2 years in, and he was sick for about 9 years. It was very long
time
and drawn out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a cancer. It was a neurological disease, and there isn't a lot of support. I think when you first get a cancer diagnosis, everybody wants to jump in and help.
And give resources.
There was none of that. It was like, sorry, he's just going to die. Like they didn't, I know it sounds so, I'm sure my husband's even laughing if he's listening, but really that's what we were told, like by the doctors in essence. They didn't say it. They have a very scholarly, erudite way of telling you,
of course,
he's just going to die. There is nothing better than the way he is today. But I started getting insanely resentful of just walking in New York City, seeing a man and a woman walk together with 2 kids. And I was like, why does she get a healthy husband? It didn't even matter. Like
that you didn't know them or anything.
Like all of my requirements for what I would want in a man, he would fit maybe none of them. And I'd still be like, why does she?
Come?
Right. Why does she get that? And I noticed that I was just getting so resentful. I was resentful of my friends. They would be like, my friend McCaslin, Blake is getting our Christmas stuff down from the attic today. And I'd be like,
great.
that makes me angry. Like, I'll be lucky if I get like a little tree, but because I was
Are you sending him to my house next? Because
yes.
Yes.
Well, she was in Oklahoma, so she would.
So no.
But at the same time, it was like, I was just jealous of that normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband over Thanksgiving weekend is going to get everything ready for Christmas. He's going to help you do that physicality. Whereas I was doing at that point, everything physically for all three of them, my two kids and my husband.
So much.
So that resentment, I think, is a key, guys, if you're listening. Not just what Gretchen, more of what Gretchen said, not just at work, but like in what I'm talking about in personal times where I would never look at a couple and ever have
any
resentment,
comparison.
But then it became, if you're at work and you're feeling that, it leads us into our next section of Gretchen's chapter, which we will be including some of these resources in the show notes. One of the exercises that Gretchen shares is called the highlight reel.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at one point hearing a psychiatrist talk after my brother died, and he said, there's a file cabinet in your mind, and you don't, and I remember sharing this with my mom, and he was like, you don't have to go into that file cabinet and pull out the day, it wasn't about my brother, but the day that person died.
Yeah.
You don't have to pull out the 6 months after it where you felt like garbage. You can go into that file cabinet and pull out the day that you first rode a bike, or the day that someone you loved first kissed you. You can go in that file cabinet and pull out anything.
Yeah.
And I really think this sort of goes in line with what you're saying. So you talk about the highlight reel, which is a different file cabinet in your mind. Can you walk us through how that works and why it's such a powerful way to reconnect with what lights us up?
Yeah. The highlight, I love the file cabinet. That's a great metaphor. Highlight reel for me came from, I love movies, I love TV, I love the theater. And so I was thinking of how can I help my coaching clients kind of reflect on their life and how do you tell your story? And so let's tell a story through the reel of your life. And I would also say with this exercise, it goes back to that knowing yourself and loving yourself. So getting an opportunity to really do some deep work on what we know about ourselves, but then also seeking support, seeking connection with other people to affirm that what you see and know about yourself. Because I think that sometimes when we're doing this kind of deep work and we're not able to see ourselves really clearly, we have to start with some kind of point of view. But connecting with people who love us and support us to kind of share that back is actually what helps us get that into our brains, is that's who we are. That's who I want to be. And what I have found when I've done this exercise with clients and they've gone and asked people about having them talk through these are my 3 to 5 things that I felt the most proud about, the most encouraged by them, the time I felt the most supported, the most whatever. And then they share that, then they get new stories and oh, I didn't see myself that way, but you see me that way. You've given me words now. For me personally, I remember doing something like this with a colleague. I was doing my own highlight reel. And she said to me, one of the things that I love about you is that you're direct. And I was like, really? Direct was never a word I would have ever used to describe myself. I would never have claimed that word. But when she said that I felt like it was like someone hitting a gong. It was gong, inside me. And I realized that I am direct and I am lovingly direct. I used to think about that as a negative kind of thing, but she was talking to me about it as, that's what I love about you, because you're direct. I know exactly what I'm going to get from you, and you're going to say it. I might not like it, but you're going to be right. And I love that about you.
It was something she really appreciated in you.
And now I claim that. And that is now something that I do use to describe myself. And so, having this opportunity to kind of go through your life and what you're proud of and have other people affirm it just kind of grounds us in finding that joy inside ourselves.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. So you also talk about cleaning the windshield, which I think is a great euphemism for how I envision this going on.
Yes.
How does that help leaders or anyone clear away the mental clutter and make better decisions?
Yeah.
So if you can
talk about that one a little bit.
A little bit.
So I have so many leaders that I work with and that I coach that get overwhelmed about all the priorities and all the things. And for me, I'm one of those people who always has the windshield that's probably needs to get replaced, right? So it's just a little smudgy.
Yeah, mine too.
And
it is so much better the day that you either take the thing on the outside, what do they call that, a squeegee at a gas station, or you finally maybe
replace
hit your window washer thing, but you'll hit it like 10 times in a row, so it really does.
Yes.
I know what you're saying, that sort of,
it's like, I can see things clearly now, right? And so it's that same kind of metaphor where we're in this stuck of overwhelm. We're in this place of anxiety. And so it's really about, let's get clear and focused on what's within our control and what do we need to be spending our time and our energy on. So I have someone write down, like, what are all the things, like the projects that are most taxing to you, right? Like just put them in different columns. And then with that.
The most taxing, like
you're feeling the most stress around. It might be the thing like you don't even know how to do, but it's on your plate. Or it might be the thing that you're on your plate and you hate doing it. And it's just taking lots of time because you hate it. Whatever those things are, the thing that's keeping you up or the thing that's making you feel, right? You're writing that down. And then who do you have to report to? Like how many people, what different departments are you connected to as a result of that? Who are you trying to influence? Who are your stakeholders here? And then go through that list and say, okay, so out of all these things, what about these projects actually brings me joy? What is work that I love to do that gets me excited? If I'm doing this all day long, like I could do this project. If it was only this thing, then I would do this all day long. And then which one of those things are you just like, I absolutely hate doing this. This is sucking my soul. And then looking at that list of the things that suck your soul and ask yourself, like, is this something that I really need to do? Or is this something that I can delegate? Is this something that I can pass off to someone else? Am I creating a sense of perfection that isn't needed here? Like, am I trying to perfect the present on something that's just fine and good is good enough? And then setting up goals and priorities around what are you going to tackle today with regards to moving those things that suck your soul, either just dial in what needs to be done or what can be given away. And with the things that bring you joy, like how can I do more of that? How can I spend more of my time doing that? And when doing that, you feel clearer because you have a new sense of purpose.
And I think that can relate to moms too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Or people who maybe don't have kids, but they have a parent they're taking care of or obligations. I think there's many ways. I remember, again, a few years into my husband's illness, I would just wake up instantly with the sense of dread because I knew every day was going to be worse than the day before, but it was never going to end until a really bad day, which was he dies.
Yeah.
There was no treatment, no cure, no medicines, no nothing. So I remember starting to sort of lose my mental clarity, my focus.
Yeah.
And I would wake up and just be like, sucks. Oh my God. But then I started telling myself, just come up with something else to say to try to declutter a little bit. Because when you're just overwhelmed with everybody needs
everything.
This one needs their jersey. My husband needs me to go. The doctors were asking me to give them this paperwork.
Yep.
Somebody wants that. My in-laws are calling and wanting me to do certain things for them. So it was like I would just start a mantra, which is a little different than what you're saying, but it was enough for me to kind of force my brain to not be so overwhelmed with this smudgy windshield.
Yeah.
Like I would just start saying, all is well. All is well.
Right.
You're okay. You are. And it would help me. It was my version of cleaning, I think. I don't know, but I think because I remember when I finally harnessed that, I started having, I'm using my hands, they're only about an inch apart, my fingers, but I started having a teeny bit more control.
Yeah.
And after moving to Indianapolis and having a really, sort of unexpected sort of yucky thing happen to me, I found myself once again saying repeatedly, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're safe. You're going to figure this out. And it goes back to something, I think we're 5 questions away from it now, but loving yourself to be able to do these exercises, clear the windshield and the highlight reel or file cabinet. You've got to find something in you that you love. And I always thought I don't know if this ever happened to you, if you have one moment. I always thought I did love myself. I was brought up by a mom and dad who loved me. I had a dad that told me how amazing I was every day that he could. He's still with us. But I didn't really understand what loving myself meant until after this time in Indianapolis,
Mm.
because that's when I was really forced to go, I just love myself too much
to do
to
that.
allow this
Yeah.
thing to be important anymore. But it took me, like, in thinking I had lost some love or lost something that wasn't even there.
Yeah.
It took me real, and I don't know, to me it's very profound. I don't know if this is hitting you the same way, but it was a time where I now know, when I tell you or someone out there, you really need to love yourself, I now know what that
Means.
looks like and means. Do you
Yeah.
feel?
Well, I think we continue to rediscover how to love ourselves too. Because I would say I don't know that I've always actually loved myself really well. I've been more focused probably on loving other people and lost sense of myself in that. But I think, what you were talking about too with your husband and the state that you're in, at some point it's like we have to get to a point where it's like, I don't want to be overwhelmed. I don't want to feel overwhelmed. And what we have to then say is what we do want, right? Like, suffering is the worst, but torment is suffering without purpose. Right?
Yes.
And we are, and when we are feeling overwhelmed and anxious, we are literally tormenting ourselves because we have no point to that. There's no reason for that suffering.
There's
it's
no
just
helpfulness
nothing
that comes of it.
Right. But when we decide, I don't want to feel overwhelmed anymore, I want to be in control, or I don't want to feel
I wanted to be in control of the narrative that I was playing in my head that was someone else's narrative.
Yep.
And I think it took me, I always thought I loved myself. I never looked down on, but it took that to really go, this is what self-love is. I love myself so much that nobody will ever write that narrative again.
Yeah.
Even though it only happened once in my life, it will never happen again.
Right.
So I love myself so much that my peace is worth more than what somebody else might bring to the table occasionally. So these are things that, I don't want to go on and on about this, but these are ways anyway that I think your chapter in your book calls in some of these things that I haven't really titled or mentioned, but I think other people at home who maybe aren't in a leadership position or are going through something, they can tap into this.
Yeah.
I was challenging myself to come up with 3 to 5 highlight files or highlight reels.
Yes.
I was like, was it passing the bar? Was it getting my driver's license? Was it, I don't think for women having kids, we're like, oh, we give ourselves.
Everyone thinks they need to say that, but it's like, and what else?
And what exactly?
Yes, right?
I like that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I challenge myself, and I'm going to continue to challenge myself. So thank you.
I love that.
So some people here are leading with love and think it's too soft for the workplace. How do you respond to that?
Oh, I feel like I've been responding to that like my whole
Sorry.
career. No, I do. I love it. No, I love the question. I think it's people don't want to talk about love because love isn't necessarily always newsworthy. It's much more interesting to hear about the challenge and the conflict. But we all, if you think about anyone that you have worked for that inspired you, that made you feel good about yourself, that encouraged you, they were leading you with love, right? And it
even
is
teachers like back in elementary school,
coaches,
right? Like,
yes. It is all leading with love.
And it could be tough love, or it could be humorous. Some leaders lead with humor, and they get you to fall in line anyway. Like they have that knack.
Yes.
So I like what you're saying.
I think, because I think when we talk about love, it feels squishy. We don't want to say that we love the people that we work with. We don't, although everyone wants to call everyone, my work people are like my family. Well,
and you should love them.
And you should love them.
Or they should love you at least, right?
Yes.
Or love what you're doing.
Exactly.
One thing I really want to touch on is you shared that one of the hardest words of the year. I had such a hard time this year. I don't think I picked one, that I settled on one, but that you ever chosen was humility.
Humility.
And I have actually had this conversation with one of our joint friends, and I'll talk to you about it later off air. But in the chapter in your book, you talked about turning to the litany of humility, which I had never heard before. I think we all suffer with pride, especially women that have had some success, and men. And then you turn to the litany of humility, and this is what struck me. From the desire to be esteemed deliver me. From the desire to be loved, deliver me, end quote. While doing my research, I found this line incredibly powerful and sharp, and I kept going back to it. I believe that we all want to be loved and we all want to be held up and looked up to.
Yeah.
But I get that it could be damaging to our self-development.
Yes.
Hence what I just said before about I love myself so much now that some guy coming along and saying he loves me, it better be backed up by A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But that was me learning to love myself. So I sort of digressed for a second, but it could be damaging to our self-development to seek it in others.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still trying to process this because you dropped a bomb on me in that chapter. How do you process it now?
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you that when I said, humility is going to be my word for the year, a woman at my church gave me that prayer and I'd never heard of it. And she gave it to me. I was like, I was like, oh my gosh, is she trying to tell me that I'm like so full of myself? Because all of these things are like things that I definitely want, right? And then I went through this whole process of like, how does confidence and humility work together? Because can I be confident and humble at the same time? And the answer is yes. But what I realized about myself was that I was focused so much on my confidence and demonstrating my confidence. It actually was, it was my pride and not showing up as humility, trying to be overly focused on, I've got my stuff together and I know what I'm doing and I'm an expert at this and that. And I was so focused on demonstrating my confidence that I lost the humility in that. And so now when I am feeling like, am I getting a little too big for my britches? Or even when I feel like I need kind of like a boost of confidence, I go back to that prayer and I read through it and I recognize that all of those things are what I desire, but they are desires for this world, not for another world, right? And so for me to get to that other world, I really need to be focused less on myself and how I'm serving others and how is the words and the messages and the content that I put out in the world, how is that serving some other greater purpose and not myself? And when I'm wedded to serving other people and not wedded to how it makes me look, sound, build my brand, anything like that, that is really the sweet spot. That's the
and
juice.
that's difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because we all want to build our brand. We all want to be seen as relevant or important in some way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. We'd just be doing
And there's tons of messages you should be focused on that, right? Like, what are you doing for your brand? What are you doing for yourself? So.
No, I really appreciate that. I'm going to struggle with this for a while. I just want you to know. Just trying to sort of process through, like, how do I really say that and mean it and want it?
And want it.
Because it is so, it's deep.
Yeah.
It's deep. But thank you for giving me something to really ponder about.
Yes. I'm glad it stuck with you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So what is bringing you light right now? What brings the light? Because my show's about bringing light to dark moments.
Yeah.
So anything, you can name a TV show to a book, to a friend, to an animal, to a job. Like, what is bringing you, where do you find the light right now? Where does Gretchen Schott find her light?
I think there's so many things I could say. I think what I would probably pour into right now is the thing that's bringing me probably the most light is my family. My family's gone through a lot of transition this year. Just yesterday, I moved my son up to college for the second year, and my daughter graduated college this year, and I still have, yes. And my youngest son is in his junior year of high school. He's starting to learn how to drive. And
which one did
the show choir is the junior in high school?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Tell him I got the note. Thank
you. I'm so
okay.
glad. Yes. Seeing all of them kind of wrestling with adulting, if you will, like maturing, is bringing me joy. Although it is
bringing you joy. Like, it's not a double-edged thing.
It's double. I mean, it's hard because I want to jump in and I want to solve and I want to serve. But the fact that they're in these places and they're wrestling with these things also lets me know that my husband and I have grounded them in good values and in who they are. And if they weren't wrestling with this stuff, then we probably have done a lot of things wrong. So seeing them struggle a little bit, as hard as it is, actually bringing me some joy because it's reinforcing like why we wanted to have
kids?
A family. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Thank you. So this is kind of a quick off the top of your head way to sort of finish out the show.
Okay.
If you could send a short text to every leader in the world today,
Mm.
similar to the you period, love me period, love period, me period, well period,
Mhm.
which you said you wanted us to do from reading the
Yes.
chapter, send a text to someone that says, you love me well, with periods after each of those words. What would you send to the leaders of the world, whether it's political, church,
That's a good
business,
one.
and somehow, some way you got the power that with one text, they would all get a text from Gretchen Schott. Would it be I mean, I don't think you'd be telling them you love me well because
No.
they don't know you,
Mm-mm.
but could you think, and if you can, it's okay, but I'm just wondering if you could send one, what would it be?
I probably send, you are enough.
Okay.
You're enough.
So if all the listeners could receive a text from Gretchen,
Yes.
and I think I would co-sign that text too, you are enough.
You are enough.
That's a great place for us to end this discussion.
Yeah.
The book is called Joy at Work. I mentioned your other podcast, but you're starting a new one.
I am.
What's it called?
It's going to be called Leading Well.
Leading Well.
Yeah, and it's going to be based off of some of the things I talk about in the book, as well as kind of my own philosophies on leadership and
so
how we lead well.
We'll be listening for that too. And so if we're going to have all these links in our show notes.
Great.
We'll get them from Gretchen. If any of you have any questions, you go to DenineSig.com, send me an email, and I can connect you if you can. I think we're going to have enough on the show notes where people could connect with you directly.
Definitely.
But anyway, let me know at DenineSig.com. It's Denine at DenineSig.com if you have anything else you'd like to say. Also, if you enjoyed the show today, leave a rating and review, share it with a friend. I would love that. I would be really grateful. And I just hope that you guys find your own light today, and have a great day, guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Gretchen.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, friends. If you enjoy what you're listening to, please follow, rate, and share The Space in Between.